5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome to Greater Somerville for February 24th, 2015. I'm Joe Lynch.
And I'm KyAnn Anderson.
And we're nice and warm.
And we are out from the
toasty.
snow.
We're toasty here.
We are. We wanted to make sure that everybody knew we were both still alive. Everybody is like hunkering down with the winter. And can we remove the cone? I know, Joe wanted to be very
I want
facetious.
everyone to understand when we get later into the show.
Everybody pay attention to those.
The cone.
Respect the cones.
Respect the cone.
Yeah.
It's a topic. We're going to talk about it a little later.
We are.
But you have some stuff. On a serious note, we're going to talk about the winter of our discontent. Oh, my Lord.
Can we remove that?
We're going to talk about the cone later.
Yeah,
Promise?
yeah. No, we absolutely will. Just remove it gently so we can have a nice plant there.
All right.
Quality control here.
Quality
Look at
control.
that. Nice. Yeah, it's cold, and we're getting 3 inches tonight. So I heard 3 to 4.
Let's talk about Bermuda.
I know we
You want to
can't.
talk about the sunny climes and my boss who is vacationing for the next 4 days.
In Bermuda?
In Bermuda.
I ran a marathon in Bermuda.
Did you really?
It was very hilly in Bermuda. Never run a marathon there. Just
The
throwing
middle
that out there.
The middle of the
The
island.
I don't know. I went around the whole thing twice. That's all I know.
Yeah, it's very
So now what we wanted to do, so our intent was to attempt to try, well, we wanted to get some people down here to talk about the snow removal, but you know what, they're out there, you know,
Still
round the
removing
clock,
snow.
still removing snow. So you're going to be stuck with us because there's really no other options
Right,
here.
right.
But I do think that there are some valuable safety items that we should
Yep.
discuss.
Yep.
We are in the midst of the second, I think the second snowiest winter
right.
on record.
That's right.
Not
And
far
by
behind
the
the
end
first.
of this winter, they suspect we may break that record.
Really?
And become #1.
Really?
Right.
Um,
So setting it up, you know, you had asked me, I failed miserably. You had asked me to try to get somebody
Imagine.
who could talk about, you know, certain
that's good.
aspects of living here in the city
Yeah.
during the historic and momentous winter that we're all facing.
yeah.
I think everyone is trying to maintain themselves and maintain a cool
I-
and trying to understand that we live in a city.
Yeah. Well,
6 feet of snow is something that we
in
have to
a
try
very
to
dense
cope
area. And
with.
that's, I think, important to note because here's the thing. I went to Vermont last weekend because I had to get away. And even though there was snow up there, it wasn't, it was,
not stressful.
it
Right.
was spread out. And I think that that is the thing that if there's one lesson that we take away from tonight
Right.
is for everyone to just slow down, and that's coming from me. But, you know, slow down,
No,
pay
I agree.
attention to the signs, the no parking signs.
Right.
Take the corners a little bit slower because you never know if there's going to be someone around there with the dog. I mean, there's
Yep.
been many instances where, you know, and it's getting icy out too
Yeah.
with the temperatures.
So with all the stuff that people are talking about and they're blogging about and, you know, blocked driveways and space saving
yeah.
and all the other stuff that comes with living in the city, the one thing I want to stress to everybody who's going to watch this program live or recorded is just because it has not snowed in a few days
Yeah,
doesn't mean you can let your guard down when you're walking or driving,
it's true.
or for those brave souls who are still biking.
Oh,
It
God,
is
I don't
still
understand. Yeah.
Very, very dangerous out there, folks.
Mhm.
You know, drivers can't sense sometimes when they're on ice. Pedestrians, I know the sidewalk issue is a big issue, and
Yeah.
we're going to have the hearing this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, some sidewalks are still not passable for pedestrians. So pedestrians are on the street. Be careful, motorists.
Well, we've had, I mean, there was people that have been hit in other
Yeah.
other towns,
Yeah.
but it's really,
Luckily for us, and
Yeah.
we can get into it a little later about the job that the city has done to
Mhm.
try to keep up with
yeah,
removing the snow.
yeah,
So it doesn't pose a safety hazard.
yeah.
You know, I mean, I can't say enough about them. I know that, you know, if I look at certain corners or I look at certain things and I go, well, why haven't they removed that mound? It's dangerous on the corner. But I have to give DPW and the private
my God, yeah.
contractors and the administration, I give them kudos.
Yeah.
This is unprecedented,
Yeah.
the amount of snow in such a condensed time. The time
Yeah.
period is what really croaked us.
Well, I know it is, and you know what's so funny is that it all started when I came back from Minnesota. So basically,
Thank you, KyAnn.
because I came back and I had to rush and change my ticket to fly back that Monday
That's right.
before the storm, and so it basically hasn't stopped since then. So I have you know, it's just been like a nonstop
So
thing.
when are you leaving?
And I read, I know, I need
Minnesota so you
to, I
can
need to
take this
leave,
with
take
you?
the weather with, no, but they've had like 3 inches of snow. My
Right.
family's been laughing. They're like, we're on the news. Somerville's actually on the news a lot.
I know.
It was on the news recently because they took a drone out
Yep.
because
To
of
look at the
all,
roofs.
to look at the roofs. You know, I have a question about that
Mhm.
because, you know, there was some, I don't say controversy, but in terms of,
I think we're not supposed to do,
oh, I know.
advertising.
So Joe.
so this is not from Dunkin' Donuts.
It's not from Dunkin' Donuts, but Joe was nice and got me a hot cocoa. Because last time we did a winter special, we had all of our scarves and hats on and stuff like that.
And
But we
you
did,
drank a lot of schnapps that night, if I remember.
of course. But so the drone, apparently the schools, they were out. I mean, the schools were out of session for a long time.
Yeah, that caught a lot of parents by surprise.
It really did, and I just want to understand a little bit more about it. I understand. I mean, obviously, as an architect, you know, in terms of snow loads,
Are you
things
an
like that.
architect?
I am. I try to be, and but you know, it just raised the question of the buildings, and you know, I with this amount of snow, people are like, oh, it's light, whatever, but it really does add up, and then you add a little bit of moisture to it with a little wet rain. And even a square foot, it's incredible how
See,
much.
I think that's what the administration and the school folks and the school committee, I think that's what they were petrified of.
Yeah.
Was that you can't predict what's going to happen in New England weather. As good as our models are for
Yeah.
weather prediction, the least amount of moisture that got onto that 4 feet of snow
Mm-hmm.
on top of a flat roof
Yeah.
would have put added pressure on some of those.
Oh well,
buildings.
yeah. I
And
mean,
you see, you see all these buildings collapsing, the roofs are collapsing. Those are not built the way, Somerville High School was built.
Yeah.
You're the architect, you
Yeah.
know what their stress loads are. But these, quantum huts that they had for storage bins, or
Oh, well, those
the
things are,
Home
yeah.
Depot garden shed, those things aren't built to handle this kind of weight.
No.
So,
Well, but then even still, there's like a large square footage of snow that's going to be falling. Did you hear about the, in Cambridge, the hockey rink?
the DCR. Right?
Yes, the
Yeah.
DCR rink had an avalanche essentially
And
in the
that's
middle.
what I'm talking about. That's a Quonset hut
Yeah,
style
and
roof.
it just and imagine you're walking somewhere up in the mountains and you get hit by an avalanche. It's still awful, but it's like you're kind of up there in the middle of this awful weather. But when you're walking in the middle of Cambridge and all of a sudden an avalanche hits you, I
Right,
mean, think
right.
about that. And then we got to get a shout out to Dan DeLongchamp. He's my neighbor, and he actually was the person that rescued those 3 individuals
Yep.
in the pile of snow. He dug
Now,
them
was
out.
he plowing for the city?
No, he was biking. He's a landscape architect. And he was biking to
that,
work.
So he just happened
He
to
heard
come
someone
by.
screaming,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I saw him on the news, and
Yeah.
there he's famous. So good
Well,
job for Dan.
Good for you.
And
Dan.
nobody got
They
hurt, so that
weren't
was good.
seriously hurt,
No.
but that shows you the danger that's still out there, even though
Well, and the changing temperature,
the
because
changing
all of a sudden it
temperature,
starts
the
sliding off.
icicles, and you're going to talk a little bit about ice dams later.
We're gonna get exciting and talk ice dams.
When KyAnn told me she was going to do this session on ice dams, I
Yep.
thought maybe I can fake that I really hurt my back.
Okay, all right, because there's times when Joe is very exciting, as you know, but this is what I would say. This show is meant to not only just, I mean, yes, it is kind of a complaint, like we want to just air our, kind of frustrations, but it's about safety, and ice dams are certain things that honestly
But it goes
people
to-
don't
it
realize
goes
about.
to the moniker that we have for the show. It's about things that matter most to people.
Staying safe and stay informed.
Yeah, right, and what matters
Yeah.
to a lot of people these days
Yeah.
is they got ice dams, icicles are falling.
Yeah.
You could get hurt. This winter, in one word, sucks.
It does.
It really does.
It does this
My
last month and a
shoulders
half.
are so sore, I can't even describe it. My shoulders and my back from shoveling.
Well, you're not supposed to lift with your back. You're lifting from the legs.
How else am I supposed to lift it when the mound in front of my house
I
is
know.
7.5 feet tall?
Well, you know what that's for.
Then I shoveled
you need,
out.
No, you need to get
Respect the cone.
respect the code. We need to get you need to get a snow blower or someone in your
I
neighborhood.
had one.
Oh my God,
I
the
had my little
Mahonies
Toro snowblower, and it crapped out after the first big blizzard.
and the Bedulises on my street are phenomenal.
Aren't they great?
They are
Yeah.
so phenomenal, and
Yeah,
they have
I
been.
see them every year.
And they get the snow out in front of Frank and Charlie's house.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
they're phenomenal.
That's the part of it that I was kind of hoping we were going to lead off the show. When you have this kind of an event that we've had for 4 weeks now,
Yeah.
it shows the best of people,
Well,
and it also brings out that tiny little crowd that I call the nasties. the nasties come out. You know, and you can read about them on blogs. And
Yeah.
I was the subject of a speak out this
Oh, were
week.
you a nasty?
No, I was the subject. One of the nasties from my neighborhood
Oh.
went after me for use of the cone.
Did you use a cone?
Of
Oh, we'll
course I
talk.
used the
Okay.
cone.
Okay.
So, you know,
Good in people,
overall-
bad in people.
Overall, during the past 4 weeks, I have seen the best of Somerville. Not only from, you know, the
Na-
city's handling of this momentous,
Keeping us all
but
safe.
our neighbors.
I agree.
Our neighbors in our neighborhood, and I know you have great neighbors.
God,
in
I
your
love my
neighborhood,
neighbors.
Too. You know, out there at all hours, just doing the right thing,
Yeah.
helping other people who needed the help.
Yep.
They knew other people needed the help, whether it was a young mom with 2 kids that was screaming in the house because
Yeah.
they wanted to get out, or it was a guy who was a private contractor who needed to get his truck out so he
Yep.
could go to work,
Mhm.
so he could make money, or the seniors on the street, or,
Yeah.
you know, just neighbors.
Just checking on your neighbors. But I will say, and we don't have to dwell on this, but don't you feel, and maybe it's just driving, which I've actually started walking to work because it's the only
have too.
reliable form of transportation that's
Yeah.
out there right now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, the T has gotten better, but it really is just, I get sick of just being trapped on a bus when
Right.
the traffic's not going anywhere. But there is this underlying current of, I don't want to say nasty, but it's people are irritable. And that's another kind of thing,
understandable
because
that people are
it is
irritable.
understandable, but I think people need to recognize that that makes them a little bit more quick to like lay on the
Correct.
horn or
Correct.
like accelerate out
Right.
around a bus, and then all of a sudden you got a pedestrian there. So again, I'm just,
You know what's
I'm victim of it as
You know,
well.
it's funny to me, KyAnn. I mean, you know that there are circumstances where I have to take the car
Yeah,
and directly from work I go to see my sister, and hence the need for the cone.
Yeah.
So I'm excusing my own bad behavior for using a cone,
okay,
because when I get home at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night from the nursing home, I want my spot.
yeah,
People say to me all the time, "It's not your spot, Joe." I get it. I know
Yeah.
it's not my spot. But for 3 storms in a row, I shoveled. And for 3 nights in a row, someone from not my street used the spot.
yeah. So,
What did you think? The little snow elves came and shoveled that
okay,
out
okay,
for
all right,
them?
so let's discuss this.
Let's
because
do it.
because
Let's
this
do
is
it.
the nasties, but
Because the nasties are out there. She knows who she is.
no, but here's what I'm going to say though. What is going on? Because like, I'm sorry, South Boston. I just saw this car that got totally smashed in and like vandalized and whatever because someone took their spot.
That's by a nasty.
And that is,
Yeah.
but that's.
Nasties aren't just the people who snitch.
No,
and
no,
put
no,
things
no,
in
no.
speak up.
No, but here's-
Nasties are if you know I have this cone and someone came and took that cone, would I go after their car? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
That's
but
nuts.
I'm
That's
but
crazy.
my point is though, I want to know what is the actual rule behind a cone or a
In
chair
Boston?
or whatever in Boston and Somerville,
No,
because
they all have different rules.
what are our rules so the people at home know? Because honestly,
in Somerville, it is almost like an unwritten rule that for 3 days, 2 or 3 days.
I thought it was 48
after you
hours,
shovel
okay.
out, you know, and you put something in your spot, the city's not going to bother you. What the city is basically saying is that these can be hazardous, and they can be,
yep,
to the people who try to clear the streets. Because if you have a street like Henderson, a very,
Yep.
very small street, and you have a bunch of street trash in those spots,
yep, you can't clear the snow.
you can't clear the snow. So we get it. We totally understand it. But, you know, there is a reason for certain people putting it out.
Can I ask a question though? And
Yeah.
we don't have to debate this
If
on
the
our
city
television
wants-
show.
You know, let me apologize
Okay.
first, because I'm going to call out the person who anonymously
Okay,
called in to speak out last week and named me by name.
okay,
Because what you have done, I hope you're very, very proud of yourself. What you've done is to put Henderson Street on the map with the DPW folks, because they now have a responsibility to come up Henderson Street and take everything out of the spots.
okay,
So I happen to know that this person who called in lied in the speak out. She said, "I live on Henderson Street." Guess what? You don't live on Henderson Street, because all of us use space savers on our street. Every single household on that street used it
okay.
during the blizzard and after a couple of the big storms. This person, because she's a nasty,
Well,
called in to speak out.
here's what I'm saying. I don't know what's going on with this, and I think
Right.
we move on to other
But all
topics.
of our neighborhoods
But
have
I
the
thi-
same issue.
No, fine, but
Because
I don't, I'm
I
not,
saw yours too.
I don't have one, I have my
No,
driveway.
not oh, don't get defensive.
I was gonna say,
On one of those see-click fix, or what do they call those things, where people call in and say there's, space
Okay.
savers. It's
oh,
part
on
of
Alpine, yeah, well,
311.
but I'm
And
just
Alpine
saying,
Street was called out on it.
okay, so that's, you know what, I know people that, I know my people aren't using them, but what I'm saying is that I think now they should start getting moved. I
Yes,
don't
I agree
believe,
with
I
that.
think, I don't believe in them, because I don't think
And you
that,
have a driveway.
I have not had driveways in past, and I have done and not used one.
Right.
That's my own personal thought. But this has been a particularly nasty thing.
Correct.
I had a neighbor that came over from the other side of us, came over and took one, and I just asked him, and he had a very small car, so he helped dig out more so we could fit two there. So I mean, it's about talking to neighbors, but I don't
It
want
is.
it, I mean, the vandalism, something like that, that's ridiculous. That isn't your spot even,
Right.
but there's, the unwritten
It is not
rules.
my spot.
Okay.
It is not my spot.
But I think the city
But
needs to be
I'll tell
clear
you, I will
on,
go to the mat
Okay.
for anybody on my street
Okay.
who shovels out, and then the mother of 2 young children, who is a school teacher.
I'm
honey,
not,
honey, I'll put my dining room table in there for you.
She's
for the
great.
woman who
Bridget is
has
great, yeah.
severe arthritis across the street, I'll put my body in that
I,
spot
but
for
I,
you.
Joe, I'm
Right.
not saying that an individual person doesn't have a unique situation, and
Correct.
you aren't going through an awful time right now. I just am saying, right now, I think we need to there needs to be like, okay, 48 to 72 hours, but then after that, like, get rid of them, because it's like,
Totally
at some
agreed.
point, it's like, come on,
Totally agreed.
So Nate,
Right.
next topic. I think
Okay.
we need to go to the next
So-
topic.
Respect the cone. The cone is no longer in use.
48 to 72
It's not
hours,
working tonight, as everyone can tell.
even they're
So,
not,
Hey, Ms. Nasty, why don't you
What?
call
Okay.
one of your friends and have them park in my spot?
okay.
So let's move on
Okay.
to ice
We're
dams.
gonna move
Can
on,
we talk
okay,
about ice
so
dams?
here's a little thing, so ice
You
dams.
got some pictures?
We
too?
do, oh my gosh, look at you. Now I hope this technology works. Okay, so everybody's walking around. I thought it would be very important that's not what I wanted. Well, that's a bummer.
What is that?
We're,
What are we
we're,
looking at? The
well, you know what,
roof
I'm just
of the
gonna
ice
take
dam?
it. Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, this is a cross-section of an ice dam, okay? And it just totally switched off. It didn't
Try it
work.
again.
Let's do this again. So
That's an ice dam.
there's an ice dam. You can see that at the bottom there. Basically, any water running off the roof is not going to go into the gutter because it's going to be hit by this ice dam, okay? And the reason why that's problematic is that of course, I'm loving the fact that
Let's try another one.
I know, it's not
That's all right.
it's not working. Okay, well, anyway, the reason why that ice dam, oh, there's a funny picture coming up. The reason why those ice dams are important is that you need to remove that portion without the water, the water basically will just pool.
It builds up behind
It builds up behind the
And
dam
then it
because the
freezes
water can't
more.
fall off your roof, right? So it freezes more, and what it does, it gets up and under your shingles. It goes in, and a lot of people have been experiencing water damage, and inside on, like interior damage. And it's really important for you to get someone, and I recommend getting someone that's insured because you're going to be going up high on a ladder, but getting someone out there to remove the ice dam, or they just chisel the ice dam out so that you have a couple little channels to get the water through.
Correct.
Because if you don't do that and more snow and the wet snow comes, you're really going to be coming into issues. And they actually did say that this winter has had a record number of snow, inches falling, but it also is going to be a record number of insurance claims because of all the damage that's going to be happening. So if your house looks like that, that's an ice dam. You should really take care of it. And there's, a number of pieces. I'm not obviously going to be able to name people, but I recommend you making sure that they're insured. Go take care of that because otherwise you're going to have a real issue. You may read that there are places that you can, take women's pantyhose and fill them, and you want to fill it with calcium chloride.
I got rid of all of my pantyhose.
Okay, calcium chloride you need to make sure it's calcium chloride and not the other stuff because
The rock
calcium,
salt stuff is-
exactly.
right.
Calcium chloride will not damage your roof. If you throw up, you fill this whole little pantyhose thing full of calcium chloride, okay, and you throw it up over the ice dam and you kind of you try to melt it, which will improve the condition.
Right.
It will not damage your roof. The problem is people go up there with like saws or whatever and they damage their shingles, they damage the waterproofing,
And then you get
It's a
more
big
water.
problem, exactly. And I've even heard one of the better ways to do it is with steam, but this steam takes a lot of time and,
Right.
and a lot of money. So just be aware that that condition's out there. Look at the side of your roof. If you start to see those, you should call a professional because you may have some inside water damage and start to get mold and things like that, and we don't want that.
We had an enormous amount of
That's
people,
my soapbox.
you know, mostly contractors, friends of mine.
Yeah.
I was watching them as they were doing their own roofs. Now,
Well, you have to be careful doing that too, because there's
you know, I don't do ladders anymore, but I was watching them, and there is an art to it. There is a science to how to remove that ice dam. You don't just, as you say,
Yeah.
you don't just go up there
With a
hammer
hacksaw or a
and
sawzall.
hacksaw. There are, you know, unique kind of chisel tools that they
Yep.
use, and it takes them hours to do
it does.
So you really should get a professional to do it.
So first things first, if you don't have an ice dam on your roof, you should really make sure to be getting a rake and a snow rake. You get the ones that can extend,
Yep.
and you go up and you anywhere you have a flat roof that you can get onto and you're not in danger. If you want to get out there and shove that roof, just because right now we're going to run the risk of any wet snow that we get going forward is going to add that much more weight onto your roof. So get rid of the water, the snow, so then you won't have issues with melting. And that's
Now,
my
it's
soapbox.
funny because I have ice dams that build up on both. I have a very pitched roof.
Yeah, so do I.
The ice dams will build up, but even in the past 2 days,
Yeah.
with the sun being very hot, it hasn't
Yep.
been warm, but the sun is hot. It's loosened those dams, and you can hear the water running
Yeah.
down the dam.
Well, so back to safety a bit. You have to make sure for those people that have sump pumps in their basement, now that we're going to have a ton of groundwater, right? All the snow's going to be melting, the water level is going to rise up. You may get water in your basements. I get it a lot. And so make sure that where your sump pump drains out, there's access, it can escape, right? Another thing to look at is your exhaust for your dryer.
Sure. Yep.
Where is the exhaust for your dryer? Make sure that you locate that and it's not covered, because if it is covered, that's a problem. Get it out of there. The final thing and most important is those people that have boilers that are venting out, the heaters are venting out to the side of the foundation rather than just a chimney.
Instead of a chimney,
And if you
right.
don't know and you're a renter, ask
Right.
your landlord. I
Right.
mean, unfortunately, it's a little late now, but just
Right.
monitor those things, because those are all very hazardous conditions that you don't even think about because you're just out there shoveling snow. But just be very, very cautious.
We'll go back
my
to
soapbox.
how nice people are and how courteous people are during times like this. I know. I still have oil heat
So do
in
I.
the house.
I wish I
And
didn't.
the oil man trudged through the side yard and cleared the dryer vent while he was there, because it happens to be side by side.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, random acts of kindness instead of being a nasty.
Yeah, so
goes a long,
So
long
if you,
way.
if you just are walking along someone's house and you see something, I mean, it really does.
Yeah, I
there's a
mean,
lot of stuff on the
even
checklist.
in our neighborhood, we went to one of the neighbors. I think I sent you one of those pictures. We went to
Oh,
their,
you did, yeah.
We went to their house because the back of their house faces our street.
Mm-hmm.
We went around to the next street to show them what that ice dam was doing to the
Yeah.
back of their house. And since that picture was taken, it did. It
Yeah.
pulled the vinyl side
No,
away
that's
from the house.
and you know what's funny? And I'll admit to being kind of a geek like that. I actually look at like fascias and I look at the kind of eaves and I'm kind of like, And I've been looking at a lot of them and, just look up. Even if you don't own the house, you know what? Your landlord probably pays a lot of money to try to keep that house up, and, you're doing them a favor.
And be careful, it goes back to safety. We're still not out of the woods yet. Be careful when you're walking beside buildings.
Oh my
because
God.
There's still a lot of icicles hanging.
Well, there's signs all
careful
over
of that.
Cambridge that say caution falling
Falling.
ice.
Right. I mean, you have to still be
Get rid of the
careful, especially
icicles.
if it gets a little warmer,
Yeah.
and you're going to see those things start dropping. Before we go any further, and my shoulders are so sore from
Oh
shoveling.
my gosh, here
I
we go.
can't pat myself on the back.
And why are we doing that?
And you should not pat yourself on the back.
Why?
Because on January 29th, you and I both received
Oh!
separate awards for shows that we've
Oh, we
done.
did.
So congratulations.
Well, congratulations to you.
Yep,
Yeah.
KyAnn won for Best Talk Show for her informational show that she did. It was a series of 4 with the semifinalist developers for the Union Square District here in Somerville. Her special with the Magellan Group of the US2 group won for Best Talk Show.
And you won for Best Political Talk Show.
With Martha
With Martha
Coakley.
Coakley, so
That's
that was
right.
wonderful. So yeah, so we did win those.
And we had fun that night.
We did, we just didn't get a picture of us with our
Yeah.
awards, but that was great. Yeah, that
But
was a.
congratulations.
No,
Very
well, you know,
deserved
well,
on that one.
well, thank you. You as well. I think when, you know, you really want to get certain messages out, I think that's one of the reasons why Scat TV is so wonderful. Because there's a lot of things out there that people don't know are going on. You know, a lot of politicians, you want to have people hear what their message is, and this is the perfect venue to do
And
that.
they're starting to line up.
Oh my God, I
They're
know
starting
it.
to line
I
up
know it.
because this is election year.
It is
here in the
election
city
year.
of Somerville.
I know, it's exciting.
And I've already heard from 2 of the incumbents saying, when are you going to start your shows? And I said, could you give us a break?
I know. Well, you know, I'm going to be happy for the next time that we do a show that we're not going to be talking about snow. Maybe we'll talk
Right.
about something. Are you going to go anywhere? Go anywhere
I
warm?
am not taking any trips this year.
Well, no, not this year, but just like this winter.
No,
God.
I'm just going to kind of
Well,
stick
I mean,
close to home.
I think that's a good
But,
plan.
you know, it's funny, one of my grandnephews, they live just north of Attitash in New Hampshire.
Oh, great
Wanted
location.
to know, and when I spoke to him, he said, Uncle Joe, I really think you have more snow than we do this year. I
Oh my
said, yeah, I
God.
think it's right.
Um,
We're getting to the end.
we are
Can we
get-
get that picture.
We are getting to the end. Oh, yeah. So this is, we need to put this picture up because, you know, why not?
Because we're going to respect the cone.
There's the cone.
Somebody said to me, I either
That's really
look like
funny.
a witch or I look like Harry Potter.
Oh, I'll just leave that one alone.
I'll leave that one alone.
I'll leave it alone. You know what I would like to do? I would like to personally welcome you to the 21st century because Joe Lynch actually got a cell phone
That I admit to.
that you're admitting to.
That I admit to.
Sorry, you probably didn't want that on the air. You didn't. Oops. Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, the fact of the matter is,
There are people who have always had the cell phone number, and now they
know.
know that I can.
oh,
Now they know that I can actually snap pictures.
well,
with,
the only
it's
reason
an
I,
upgraded cell phone. Let's
okay,
put it that
let's
way.
just say this. The reason why I welcome you because you've since I've been in on the new number or whatever it is, I've received all sorts of interesting pictures
You
from
didn't
you.
know I could do that, did you?
I know when I was like, wow, look at it. Isn't he tech savvy?
There
So
you go.
welcome, Joe,
There you go.
to new technology. So be
God,
safe out
another
there.
way to get a hold of me. It's
I
bad
know.
enough I'm being called out on Speak Out.
I
now,
know,
yeah.
sorry about that. But,
So
you know,
listen.
be safe out there.
Be safe.
And you know, help your neighbor, check the vents, look for ice dams,
Yep.
and just hang in there because we're almost done, like with this winter, hopefully.
Yeah, so as always, from Greater Somerville, stay safe and stay informed.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.